Good morning, everyone. Green Party leadership candidate quits race and writes a blistering essay saying Elizabeth May and her personality cult still very much running the party and are puppeteering the election. I was not expecting Miss May to consolidate power in this fashion. Wow, there's a tell-all already. And I mean, I'm not really surprised. She's a powerful MP in the House, regardless of whether she's the leader of the Green Party or not, which is wild because she went on a drunk tirade about Omar Khadr and played Welcome Back Khadr to the MPs, and then was pulled aside by a very, very forgiving Lisa Raitt. She came up on stage. She's like, "Okay, Liz, come on, let's go off the stage now." I mean, you can't make this up. These are our politicians, and she's trying to play the I'm above reproach card, and yeah, okay. Apparently not, madam. Right? Okay. Here's an update to a story yesterday. I said that the Globe and Mail had reached out to all of the cabinet ministers, wondering if Justin Trudeau had made his conflict of interest, his payments to his family through known to any of cabinet, and no other minister replied, or no minister had replied yesterday. Today, Mr. Mark Garneau had replied. Update, Minister Mark Garneau's office says he was not made aware of the payments to Prime Minister's family for events. Spokespeople for Ministers Tassi and Fortier said they could not comment due to cabinet confidence. The other 33 ministers didn't reply. So there was even an update since I remember seeing this. I added this to my queue, but just in the category of new updates on this. So 3 ministers have replied. 1 says nope, and 2 say we can't tell you that because of cabinet confidence, which I don't believe that's accurate. I've seen some, and I didn't take these, but I've seen some lawyers weighing in and some Twitter lawyers, so take that with a grain of salt, saying that cabinet confidence doesn't necessarily, it applies to deliberations. It doesn't prohibit them answering a yes or no question with regards to, like, did you know this factual information? That was the Twitter arguments that I saw yesterday, which I thought was notable, right? So I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure exactly how far cabinet confidence goes. Does it go to deliberation? Does it go to known facts? Does it go to when you knew facts? I don't know. It's interesting. We'll see, I guess. And maybe there'll be a waiving of cabinet confidence to get this all out, to get this out in the open, you know? I didn't do anything wrong. Let's all talk. Oh, right. I did do lots wrong. Right. Haha, Justin Trudeau. Okay, here is moving on. Global news saying phase 3 of the vaccine trial is likely to start pretty soon, and the company plans to recruit 40,000 participants for the test. I would not want to be one of those participants, not even a little tiny bit. Nope, no thank you. Nope, skip it. The whole thing. No way. And I hope they don't try and make a vaccine mandatory. I've heard lots and lots of rumblings about that kind of stuff from all sorts of corners of the political discussion. And here is a choice from the lawyer who has filed a suit, and I've got a link to the actual statement of claim here if you're interested in reading that. I think it's worthwhile just noting this stuff. But here he is talking about how it is not lawful for you to impose a medical treatment on an unwilling participant. I don't know if this extends to masks. Could masks be a medical treatment? Like, I decline to wear that mask because it doesn't help me. I feel like it hurts me. So I'm not going to wear that. Can you do that? I think that you can do that. And I think that that's backed up as well. But here is the legal stance of the statement of claim that has been put up in Superior Court in Ontario. And I'll let this gentleman say it because it's his. Here we
go. The plaintiffs also challenge any notion that's been bantered about and repeatedly suggested that it will be lawful or constitutional to mandate mandatory vaccines for the COVID-19. The plaintiffs and Vaccine Choice Canada resist the notion that it is constitutional to force unwanted and non-informed and non-consensual medical treatment on anyone, including a vaccine if one is developed for COVID-19.
Okay, so I think that I agree with that. Here is footage of a woman being refused service because she's not wearing a mask, and I'm going to back up that I think that in Canada you have the right to refuse a mask. I believe you do. I think that you do. Tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I will gladly recant and say that that is not a medical intervention, not a medical anything, and you have to wear a mask if they say. But I don't believe that that's true. Here is the woman who is getting, shamed by the nursing staff. Here we go.
You're going to deny me service if I don't wear a mask. I'm at St. Joseph's Hospital. They're telling me that if I don't wear a mask, they're not going to...
All right. That's all I wanted you to see. She's saying you're going to deny me service. There's a much longer video. This is the City TV News cut, and I don't know why they're cutting away. They're playing music over top. I know why. I know why they're cutting away. Okay. Here is the Canadian Health Advocates website, and I looked up what are patients' rights in Ontario. So this is obviously a biased website. This is advocating for patients' rights, or health advocates tells me that they're advocating for patients' rights, but I believe that this is correct information. Okay, what are patients' rights? Patients' rights are those basic rules of conduct between patients and medical caregivers. A patient is anyone who has requested to be evaluated by or who is being evaluated by any healthcare professional. People don't always know they have rights within the Canadian healthcare system, let alone what those rights are. Here are some examples of your rights. Patients in Canada have the right to the following: to receive appropriate and timely care, to be treated with dignity and respect, to receive health services without discrimination. I'm going to jump ahead here. Number 6, to refuse consent to any proposed treatment. Okay, so you're allowed to say, no, I don't want that. Okay. Here in Ontario, and I'm in Ontario, so I'm speaking specifically to Ontario right now, so apologies if you're outside of Ontario. As a patient or healthcare consumer in Ontario, you have both rights and responsibilities. If a healthcare professional violates your rights, you can make a complaint. Your rights are protected by laws such as the Healthcare Consent Act, the Long-Term Care Act, and the Mental Health Act. In general, as a patient, you have a right to give or refuse consent for any procedure for any reason, have a medical professional clearly explain health problems and treatments to you, participate in healthcare decisions. Okay, so if you're in a hospital and you don't want to wear a mask, you have a right to refuse that treatment. You have a right to say, no, not this time. This is legalline.ca, and again, this is in the same vein as what are our rights in Ontario and in Canada with regard to consenting or refusing medical treatment. Here is legalline.ca's answer. It says, consenting or refusing health treatment. Under the law in Ontario, an adult patient who is mentally competent normally has the sole right to refuse or consent to any healthcare treatment, even if refusal increases the seriousness of the illness or the possibility of death. Ontario Healthcare Consent Act does not specify at what age a minor may give legal independent consent for healthcare. Okay, so at some point you're allowed to say no, right? Informed consent required. A patient's consent to health treatment can only be considered legal if they have been properly informed about the procedure in advance. This includes a full explanation of the treatment and the risks associated with it, the risks of not accepting treatment, and information about alternate treatments. It's interesting that the risks associated with masks are being muddied and downplayed and said they don't exist. I mean, they do exist. There's certainly some measure of caution that needs to be exercised when wearing a mask. If you feel lightheaded, you should not do that. If you have trouble breathing, you should not do that. There are clearly people who can wear masks for long periods of time. There are surgeons who wear masks for hours at a time, and they change them during the surgeries. But yeah, I can see that there are people who wear masks for long periods of time. But in Ontario, you have a right to refuse, especially if you're not informed. Then how could you even consent, right? But I think that it's interesting how little information is given out about the risks of masks, right? Here is Jehovah's Witness 14 ordered to receive blood transfusion despite beliefs. Okay, so I'm going to show you two situations where the Supreme Court or Superior Courts weighed in and forced things to happen. These are examples of minors who were intervened on because it was a life or death situation, and their rights were not listened to. Okay, so here it is. The McGill University Healthcare Center has been authorized to perform blood transfusions to treat a 14-year-old girl with cancer despite her refusal because it goes against her beliefs as a Jehovah's Witness. In a ruling issued earlier this month, Superior Court Justice Garneau concluded that it is lawful to protect a child, sometimes even against their own wishes, when their decision can be fatal or irreversibly alter their lives. So that's one. Here's a Quebec one. Oh, sorry, I'll give you the date on that as well. This was in 2017. Here's one from Quebec, and I believe it's earlier than that. This was, November 14th, 2017. Same one? September 27th. Maybe they're talking about the same one in this one. Anyone has the right to refuse a blood transfusion, even if it means certain deaths, says a Quebec coroner who studied the circumstances surrounding the deaths of 2 Jehovah's Witnesses who had recently given birth. Jehovah's Witnesses believe ingesting blood goes against their belief and that they should not accept transfusions or donate their own blood. Every person in Quebec has this freedom of choice, Coroner Luc Malouin, excuse me if I got that wrong, said in his report, which was made public Tuesday. This freedom has been exercised here in accordance with the rule of law. It is up to everyone to make their choices and to fully assume the consequences. Yes. Eloise Dupuis, 27, of Sainte Marguerite, died of multiple organ failure resulting from hemorrhaging shock on October 12, 2016, just 7 days after giving birth to her first child. She had been transferred to hospital in Levi, I think that's how you say that, from a birthing center after complications, but had said from the start that she would refuse blood products or transfusions. A note in her medical file said she told medical staff she would prefer to die rather than receive blood products. In Canada, you have that right? And here it is, transfusion law, constitutional, top court. This is from 2009, so precedent setting. A Manitoba law that forced a blood transfusion on a young Jehovah's Witness is constitutional, Canada's top court ruled today. But in a 6-1 decision, the Supreme Court of Canada justices said the court must take into consideration the maturity and decision-making capacity of minors before ruling on unenforced treatment. The case involved a young Jehovah's Witness identified only as AC who received a court-ordered blood transfusion in 2006. She was 14 when she was admitted to a Winnipeg hospital with internal bleeding. AC and her parents refused a transfusion on religious grounds because they believe the Bible forbids ingesting blood. The High Court said mature minors should be given a chance to show that they are capable of making medical decisions, although the courts can still override them in life or death cases. So if you make a medical decision that the court doesn't like, they can override you. So these guys are global research, but this is the COVID-19 measures unconstitutional legal proceeding against Prime Minister Justin Trudeau filed in Ontario's Superior Court. This is the statement of claim from the beginning YouTube video I showed, and it's Vaccine Choice Canada, and they're making the claim that mandating a vaccine goes against all of our current conventions. You can't necessarily you can't just do this. It doesn't work like that. And you have a choice to refuse. You have a choice to refuse any medical procedure for any reason. Okay, so I just want to be clear that is a right that we hold as people, as sovereign people, as individuals in our own right. You can look at something and say, no, I'm not going to do that. Here's what this article says. An overhyped COVID-19 pandemic narrative is being utilized to create unnecessary panic and to justify the systemic violation of the rights and freedoms that form the basis of our society, including our constitutional rights, sovereignty, privacy, rule of law, financial security, and even our very democracy. So yeah, there's a lot of concerning things happening with the shield of saying, oh, we're doing this for your own good. We're doing this because your safety requires it. Well, I mean, freedom is not inherently safe. It is not. You have to, if you go to work, you might get into a car accident on the drive there or on the drive home, right? And that could result in any number of unintended negative consequences. And that happens every day for lots of people. That doesn't mean that you should stop everyone from going to work because some people might get hurt. That's not keeping people safe. That's not responsible. Okay. I came across this tweet and it sent me down a rabbit hole. I don't like seeing, this is interesting information, but I don't like seeing information like this without a link because it makes me think it's fake, right? So it says the new organization, which has been a year and a half in the making, is the brainchild of co-founder and chair Jason Denny, who along with co-founders Amanda Alvaro, Katie Telford, and Marcello Cabezas, sorry if I got that wrong, worked with a team of 20 friends and colleagues in a variety of professions to bring the organization to life. Now, my Google flu is pretty good, and I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole on this one. I came to the Huffington Post first to try and find this, and I thought I had found this. So, and Huffington Post doesn't usually post worthwhile articles, so I was surprised to find this. This was posted on July 3rd, 2020. So it goes into how, here, let me get rid of this. Justin Trudeau thing here. Okay. Trudeau and his family aren't the only people in his entourage with former ties to We. His chief of staff, Katie Telford, is a co-founder of Artbound, a Toronto charity that puts on glamorous parties to raise money in support of arts educations abroad. Their first project involved funding an arts program in a school run by We Charity, then known as Free the Children. According to the latest Canada Revenue Agency filings, Artbound's largest donation was a $30,000 gift to We Charity in 2018 for a project in Haiti. It also gave We Charity more than $50,000 the previous year. Telford is not involved in the running of the organization, and her ties ceased before she became Trudeau's chief of staff, Ahmed said. According to We Charity's annual reports, she was last listed as an outstanding partner and supporter in 2017. Gerald Butts, Trudeau's former principal secretary, is also listed that year, as is AOL Canada, which is a sister brand to HuffPost. Both are now owned by Verizon Media. Telford's close friend, liberal strategist, and CBC pundit Amanda Alvaro is fellow Artbound co-founder and remains one of the charity's directors. She and Natural Resources Minister Seamus O'Regan, when he was still a CTV anchor and Artbound's honorary chair, traveled to Kenya in 2011 and stayed at We's for-profit social enterprise camp in the Masai Mara. Sorry, if I got that wrong. When they went to help build their art school. O'Regan's office said he paid his own way. Telford did not go on that trip. So that wasn't the quote that I found that was tweeted out, but it led me here, and I found it here. So here's a 2010 article. This is from 2010. Artbound, new nonprofit initiative launches to create sustainable change through the arts. Okay, led by a team of young professionals, including honorary chair Seamus O'Regan and global ambassador Dale Haddon, will embark on its first mission in January 2011 to build an art school as part of an all-girls secondary school in Kenya, Africa. The new organization, which has been a year and a half in the making, is the brainchild of co-founder and chair Jason Denny, who, along with co-founders Amanda Alvaro, Katie Telford, and Marcello Sabizas, worked on with a team of 20 friends and colleagues in a variety of professions to bring the organization to life. There it is. So Telford's directly connected to this charity, which was created by We, right? Craig Kielburger's quoted further down here talking about Free the Children and their how much good their organization does and how this is going to help, etc. So this is posted May 23rd, 2016, after Elbowgate. Remember when Justin Trudeau elbowed the other MP in the chest, right? PMO offers undisclosed spokesperson to media. I was wondering who this this Amanda Alvaro person is. And so 2010, she opens opens Artbound with We the Children's Craig Kielburger brothers, and is in that world speaking and doing all this other stuff. Here she is. The station booked Amanda Alvaro 2016, who is careful to introduce her as a spokesperson for the Liberal Party, a disclaimer you won't find on her Twitter bio or her agency's website, which boasts of ninja-like execution. But is she a spokesperson for the party? Alvaro appears regularly on the CBC as a Liberal pundit on power and politics, but no official affiliation with the party or the government is mentioned. Getting clarity on who exactly Amanda Alvaro is in relation to the Prime Minister's office and to the Liberal Party has proven difficult. In the hours after Justin Trudeau's elbow connected with Ruth Ellen Brosseau's chest, Amanda Alvaro also talked about Elbowgate on Toronto's CP24 and on the CBC's Power and Politics, where she was on the panel as the news broke. We asked CP24's Stephanie Smythe whether they introduced Alvaro as a Liberal Party spokesperson, but did not get a response. The CBC broadcast also didn't identify Alvaro as someone affiliated with the Liberal Party. Power and Politics executive producer Amy Castle said in an email, quote, "It is our understanding that Miss Alvaro is very connected to members of the PMO, Katie Telford, and the Liberal Party." Well, isn't that interesting, right? Here's Amanda Alvaro, that's Amanda Alvaro in 2013, and Justin Trudeau created a ladies' event, and this was the Evite. Isn't this great? Justin Unplugged. Can't you hear the slow jazz? You know, the creepy bass player with the gross goatee, right? The greasy hair. Okay, and he says cocktails, candid conversation, curiosity-inducing ideas. Ladies, you're invited to really get to know the future Prime Minister. Who's going to experience this one differently, Justin? So there's a big backlash, and Amanda Alvaro is right there to fix it right away. Boom, 9:19 a.m. Right in the middle. Get in the fray and start tweeting furiously, "Get a grip, people. It's an Evite, not a platform." Reading way too far into it. Truly curious about the content. Join us tonight. Ask Justin. Hours before the event, this is the news article about this from 2013. Hours before the event was to get underway, Alvaro released a more detailed statement saying that the event is, quote, intended to reach women who are not always engaged in the political dialogue by appearing fresh and thought-provoking and posing intriguing questions. The Evite, the statement read, was designed to, quote, elicit interest in intrigue and not to evoke a standard political invitation. The question it posed, quote, are not sexist questions. These are questions, among others, meant to provoke conversation and inspire interesting dialogue. The intent was not to offend anybody. Alvaro said the invitation had been circulating for a month and blamed the uproar over, quote, partisan commentary that came out over the last day. Partisan. So what's the biggest issue facing women? Who are your real life heroes? What's your favorite virtue? These are the questions. These are the questions that people were like, really? What's your favorite virtue? I just don't know. There's so many that are good. Here's a Twitter response. Dear Justin, will the Keystone XL pipeline make my butt look fat? $250 for the privilege of having cocktails with Justin Trudeau. If he were any kind of gentleman, he'd pick up the tab. So she's all over the place. Here is CBC News Meet the Power in Politics panelists. This is Amanda Alvaro's bio. She says Amanda was a senior communications advisor for both Justin Trudeau's leadership bid and his party's election campaign. As a political advisor and spokesperson at the provincial level, Amanda worked as a communications and issues advisor to the Ontario Liberals throughout successive election campaigns. Amanda is also the founder of Artbound, a Canadian charity responsible for building art schools and programs in developing countries. It's interesting that they dropped the We the Children or the We connection there. I don't know why. And I don't think that it has anything to do with the current scandal. I think this was probably written, this is 3 years ago. But it's interesting that like Artbound stands by itself. And I don't know. Isn't there a connection there? Does it just do its own work? Okay. Here's Amanda Alvaro. And I just wanted to show you that she's carrying like these opinions. And it says on her bio here, I'll show you this first because I thought it was funny. This is her pinned tweet still. This is from October 18th, 2019. So Amanda Alvaro says, opinions are my own, especially the big ones. Political commentator, progressive PR mama, world traveler. Okay, so this opinion is her own. My feelings on MPs who have, quote, lost confidence and think Twitter is a reasonable platform to air grievances, cut loose, and then make the case to your constituents why you no longer share liberal values or believe in the mandate you were voted to achieve. If you don't pull the party line, get lost. That's what she's saying. And here's her October 18th tweet. It says, I wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post on why Justin Trudeau should be prime minister. This election has been ugly and a lot is at stake. Progressives need to come together on October 21st. I hope you'll take the time to read this. So she's just best friends with Katie Telford. Katie Telford helped her set up Artbound. And now she's just putting out her own political commentary, totally her own opinion. But one quick question. I wonder if she's one of the people that Katie Telford was telling Jody Wilson-Raybould about who could be activated at any moment to write a good op-ed to make what she did look good, right? I just wonder. And I wonder how deep this goes, right? Like, man, the tangled web we weave, the We connection to the Artbound connection to the pundits connection to Katie Telford's best friend and this op-ed for Washington Post. Didn't Ezra Levant's book just get censored off of Amazon too? I wonder if you can buy it in Amazon.com. Like, I wonder if it's just off Amazon.ca. There's a lot of very interesting things happening right now. And if you're not paying attention in Canada, well, I think that's what they're hoping for. It's the middle of summer. Nobody knows what's going to happen for the kids in September, who's going to school or if they're going to go full-time or part-time or whatever. Everybody's kind of confused and really sick of politics because anytime you talk politics, it gets fractured and either there are people who say Trump is doing well or people who say Justin's doing well, and those are not the same people, right? So, because, I mean, what else are you going to talk about in politics? And so it doesn't take long if you want to talk politics before you get to the big issues, and people just are sick and tired of it. Because there appears to be a weird deadlock happening currently. And I mean, man, there's a lot's happening. There's lots of news. Wayfair, the Trudeau connection to the Wayfair stuff. Hold on, let me get that. Here it is. Trudeau meeting with Niraj Shah. who's the CEO of Wayfair. He says in 2018, this is May 18th, 2018, I had a great meeting in Boston with Wayfair CEO Niraj Shah, who said 200 jobs is the beginning of what we can do. Very true, Niraj. Looking forward to working together to create even more jobs and opportunity in the future. So, I mean, is this a bilateral meeting with a new company to come to Canada? Probably, maybe, who knows, right? But it's interesting in context of the Wayfair stuff blowing up. I mean, it's one more interesting coincidence to note, right? It's by itself looks totally innocent. It's a prime minister meeting with a CEO of a company that maybe wants to do business in Canada to access our market and see what we can do. 200 jobs, right? Yay. But in context now, with what we know now, how long has that been going on? It doesn't seem like it's new, right? And I mean, like Amazing Polly did a video on it 6 months ago or something to that effect, saying there's something weird here. And so that's kind of what I'm pointing out with the Miss Alvaro. There's something weird here, right? There's something strange going on with the opinions are her own, yet best friends with Katie Telford and telling liberals to get lost and not air their grievances on Twitter. Despite the fact, and this is pointed out by the Minister of Smart Assery, Chris, he says, our government uses Twitter diplomacy. Saudi Arabia, anyone? If a tweet is actually a problem, you aren't paying attention. Have a wonderful day. And yeah, when your government is engaging in this and you can't, the problem, the deadlock that I'm talking about, or that I was talking about earlier, is both at the micro level, so you can't have the conversation, but at the macro level too, because politically in Canada, it's going to take time to build a party, and the oppositions are all decimated. And even if Justin Trudeau steps down, who steps in? Freeland. And will anything meaningfully change under Freeland? Anything at all? I mean, would she even shuffle cabinet? I don't think she would. I think that she would be leaving everything in place and let everything just continue running as it is, spending all that money, et cetera, just like Trudeau is now, with the same accountability. So that's what I mean by a deadlock in Canada. There's no, what is there to talk about, right? Like a lot of the population in a lot of the big provinces, Ontario, out east, Quebec, are just fine with Liberal, and if they're not going to vote Liberal, they're going to vote NDP, and they don't care how ineffective and hypocritical Jagmeet Singh is. They don't care that Jagmeet wants to go even further left than Trudeau, and spend more money that we don't have on fictional solutions that don't exist. People don't care, and you can't engage people because the conversation has been poisoned, been poisoned by things like Black Lives Matter, by protests in the States, because if you take the wrong position, you're an abhorrent racist or something to that effect, and you can't be spoken to anyway. And they instruct the people, the acolytes, the people who listen to them, to do this, to just ignore you, to stop talking to you, to say that's not acceptable. And they're trying to do it to the children too. Say, that's not acceptable. There are CBC articles training people on how to speak to people who are spreading false information. It's insanity, right? This is training people this is training useful idiots to be your army, your unwitting army, right? It's wild. It's wild to watch in real time, right? So, last story. We Charity lays off hundreds after deal with Trudeau government is canceled. This is from yesterday. Today's the 12th July. This isn't really a surprise. Like, this goes to, again, how poorly this whole thing has been managed. This whole thing has been rolled out terribly, awfully, and really with no credibility at all. The only entity in Canada that could manage this, pay no attention to the public bureaucracy we've built across the country. No, pay no attention to that. It's a very, it's a good scandal. But the thing is, there are 3 sitting days left in the summer, the 17th of July and then 2 days in August. And then maybe we get back to normal in September, but probably they're going to say, oh man, this coronavirus thing, and we'll extend the emergency. Doug Ford got away with extending the emergency powers without extending the state of emergency, and so they can limit social gatherings and supersede union rules because for your safety, right? And I just don't believe that. Again, I think that, like, you have a responsibility to make your own choices up. And aside from, what looked like what was coming out of China, right? Bodies piling up, hospitals being built, blah, 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 all that stuff. The reality is that didn't happen anywhere else, right? So, man, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of muddying the waters for previously known good information. HCQ is an example of that. So how do you reasonably make a decision on anything? How do you reasonably look through the news and say, like, this is good, this is bad? I don't even think it's good that the government is administering this $900 million in this way. I think it's a bad precedent to set, paying for volunteer work. I think it's a bad precedent to set to say that you can come up with senior exercise programs that don't need any expertise to develop and can be rolled out and published with the stamp of the government of Canada saying this is worthwhile. It's not. It's ridiculous. These kids are kids who don't really know anything. And until you have experience to realize you don't know anything, you don't know anything. So it's even worse, right? Like, you're arrogant because you're inexperienced, and you're unaware of your own blind spots, right? And with a government that's egging you on and telling people that you're the future and the future is now and blah, 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 all this bullshit, listening to Greta Thunberg instead of some genuine science that's going on, falsifying data en masse and removing historical data. They've done all of these things. This is modern day book burning, and it's not appropriate for a democracy that we live in. Oh man, I just hit 30 minutes. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com. Check out CanadaReport.co. Check out SpeakingWicely.co. I'll have a new episode soon, I promise. And have a wonderful, wonderful day.